Good evening, my extended family. Good evening. It is Monday night, just like the little kid who loves the sound of it's Friday night, it's Friday night. Come Monday morning, I still have that it's Monday morning already and my term paper isn't finished yet little kid feeling. And it is Monday, June 22nd, 2020. And as I said during the Saturday night broadcast, summer is here and you can feel it. This weekend was pretty warm. A belated Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Happy Father's Day. I hope you all had a good night's sleep last night and that the day went well for you today. Thanks again for letting me spend a few minutes with you this evening. I hope you enjoy the show as much as I enjoy producing it. I appreciate each and every last one of you. Every evening I like to start by reminding each and every one of you that you are gloriously, fearfully, and wonderfully made right where you are. And again, don't ever think for a second that our Creator takes His eyes off of you. Not because He's trying to catch you doing something, but because you are loved by the Creator even before you were formed in your mother's womb. Even before you were formed in your mother's womb. Now that's a loving watchfulness that nothing else can compare to. Don't ever let go of that love. And don't keep it to yourselves. You know how many young people haven't been taught about this kind of love? In some little kids' minds, they don't even know that this kind of love exists. So let's all do our best to teach this love, caring and nurturing. And if we can teach by our actions, it has a long-lasting effect because kids won't always remember what you say to them, but they will always remember how you made them feel. Sure, hold them accountable for their actions, but remember, in the end, as St. Paul wrote, only love remains. So everything you do, holding accountable, reprimanding, nurturing, do it all out of love. All right, let's get ready to travel. Every night we travel to a different state, and tonight is no exception. So once again, I need you to put on your little kid imaginations. Tonight's show is coming from a state that was established in 1859, over 100 years before I was born, believe it or not. And it shares its birthday with Valentine's Day. That's the 14th of February, right? This state is located in the Pacific Northwest region of the United States. Much of its rich topsoil came from the north during the last ice age. No, I don't remember that. This state is one of two states that have no self-service gas stations. This state was the first to have one-way streets. The state has the deepest lake, named appropriately Crater Lake, even though this lake is formed in the remains of an ancient volcano. Funny laws in this state. I know most of you guys like this. No whistling while underwater. I couldn't quite understand why they would have no whistling while underwater. But then I thought about it and I said, okay, I think I understand why there's no whistling underwater. You can't get married at an ice skating rink. Shoelaces must be tied while walking down the street. Women are not allowed to wrestle. This state has a picture of a beaver on the back of its flag. This state has more ghost towns than any other state. I found out a little while ago that my last name, Gagnon, there's a ghost town in Canada called Gagnon. Used to be a pretty good running territory, but then it went ghost town. So it's the ghost town of Gagnon. The state flower is I'm not going to say the first name of it because that's the name of the state, but the grape, this state's name grape, but this is actually a shrub. Not a flower, but they call it the state flower. The state's insect is the swallowtail butterfly, beautiful. The state bird is the western meadowlark. We've seen that in other states. The state tree is the Douglas fir. I got to tell you, as a carpenter, this wood is the nicest framing lumber wood that I've ever worked with. Framing a house or framing a garage. This wood is I found the easiest to work with. The nickname of this state is the Beaver State. The capital is Salem. But before I identify this state to you, an old friend, John Punch from Jail Hill, his wife sent me a fishing story that I want to share. She writes, my fishing story, years ago while camping along the Clackamas River in Oregon, we decided to go fishing. We didn't have any fishing gear, so John made a trip to Estacada to buy a fishing pole. Keep in mind, this was open season for fishing and camping. We drove to a few tackle shops with no luck in purchasing a standard fishing pole. We decided we would try one more shop. Well, we lucked out with an ice fishing pole. And if you're familiar with ice fishing poles, they're only about 2 feet long. John asked me what color I wanted, and I said pink. That was her favorite color. We drive back up to the campsite, hike down to the river's edge. John gets it ready for casting, starts casting with my pink pole, paying no mind that I am patiently waiting to use the pink pole. Well, half an hour goes by and I figure, well, I'll just make a fishing pole with a tree branch lying around. Keep in mind, John had no intention of letting me use the pink pole till he caught a fish. Well, I dropped my line in less than a minute I caught a large trout. I was so excited, started screaming as though I won the lottery. John was astonished. He couldn't believe that I caught a huge trout with my stick pole, like Huck Finn. It was dinner for the evening. Good story. Thank you very, very much. This state is Oregon. Another additional piece of trivia is that the college football rivalry between Oregon and Oregon State is colloquially known as the Civil War of college football. This game was first played on November 3rd, 1894. The next game is slated for November 28th of this year. For college football fans, Oregon leads Oregon State by 19 games. In 1910, there was a fight after the game between the fans from both sides. The press at the time took sides and wrote an untruth that the host team, Oregon State fans, started the melee. The truth is that both sides were at fault. So I asked, can you imagine having a press that reports the untruth? Boy, I'm glad that doesn't happen today. I gave myself 5 smiley faces for that one. The character trait for the month of June, as we know, is integrity, which is the quality of being who you say you are and doing the right thing, even and especially when nobody's looking. If you're a person with integrity, most people will be happy to see you walking toward them and welcome your friendship. Now, that's a benefit of having integrity. Today is Take Your Cat to Work Day. Some say that this is the cutest day of the year. However, I've been working for 40 years and I've never experienced somebody taking their cat to work. I do remember in 5th grade, we had a student take a kitten to class. He said he found it on his way to school. We used to walk to school. He said he found it and he hid it in his inkwell in his desk. Yes, I sat at a desk with an inkwell. I'm that old. When I told the kids this story at school today, one of the kids asked, "What's an inkwell?" And I told him that's where we keep the ink before the ballpoint pens were invented. He asked, "What did you write with?" I explained a feather that we had to pluck from a bird on our way to school each day. He didn't like that idea until I shared that being late was never an issue because we just had to tell the Sisters of Mercy that we're late because the crow was hard to catch this morning. To which the boy responded, "Can I use an inkwell?" Anyway, the bird was tiny but loud. It's funny now that the student who hid that little kitten in the inkwell is now the director at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. He did well. On this day in history, in 1870, President Ulysses S. Grant signed a bill into law that led to the creation of the Justice Department. In 1944, President Roosevelt signed into law the GI Bill that provided benefits to returning World War II veterans. The original GI Bill expired in 1956. I didn't know that. But the term is still used today, and that's why I didn't know it, to provide benefits to all United States veterans. The American Legion has been the organization that has always pushed for these benefits and has been active since 1919. So it's good to give to the American Legion when you can. From my friends who like pugilism, in 1937, professional boxing great Joe Louis defeated James J. Braddock in 18 rounds for his first heavyweight boxing title. I can't imagine boxing 18 rounds. When I was younger, we used to box for 3 rounds. And 3 rounds would really take it out of you. You got to be in some shape to be able to box for 18 rounds. In 1894, Harry Houdini gets married. Then he disappeared right after the wedding. No, just kidding. He didn't disappear after the wedding. The word of the day is thankfulness. This means having appreciation for something. Usually something that you're grateful for having or something you haven't had to go through. Many times we spend too much time wishing we had something that we don't, and that perhaps somebody else has. Don't spend too much time there. I'm asking you right now to think of something that you're grateful for. I told my students this morning that when I look at them, I see wonderful gifts that they all have. Different gifts, but wonderful just the same. It would be easy for me to give thousands of examples, I told them, of what is quite wonderful about each and every one of them, but I wanted them to think of what they're grateful for. How many times in prayer we go to our Creator, always asking and hardly starting with a thank you? Ask away. I believe our Creator wants that. As a matter of fact, keep knocking until He answers. We might not always get the answer that we want right now, but let's not forget that we all do have something to be thankful for. So tonight, you'll find me being thankful on the banks of the Clackamas River with my pink 2-foot ice fishing pole, smoking my cigar, and singing whatever they sing while they're fishing in Oregon. Anyway, that's the show tonight. So until we meet again, let us all have a blessed, peaceful night, and let's be kind to one another. Again, and as always, you truly are quite special. The world would not be the same without you, so don't even think of leaving. The world, and especially the people right around you, need you, and that's a good thing, as Martha Stewart would say. So good night, and may God bless, as Red Skelton would say. Good night.